Hello everyone, welcome back to Game of Thrones Winter's Coming. Currently there is an event going on called Together in Winter, and we're going to take a look at that specific event as well. The event is coming around usually every month, so it's not something that's super special, but it's something that can give certain advantages and has great things coming along. As you can see, there's like certain quests you can do that will give you like certain items and so on, which is always nice. And by doing certain tasks every day, you can get these tree leaves, which are also basically a form of currency in this particular event. And of course there's also a recharge part, where if you recharge your enough black diamonds, then you will also get access to certain tier rewards, which is decent, I would suppose. If you're planning on recharging, usually doing this event is a good idea to do it, since it will give something back for your recharge without having to pay anything for it in game. Like I said, there's a currency which you use in this particular shop to basically buy things. It could be friendship chests, material chests and stuff like that. And at the top here, the red skills for dragons are a different currency, basically called Ancient Army Skill Fragments. And these Ancient Army Skill Fragments you get in this particular wheel, where you can see, like, depending on how many tries you can also that you use, you can get certain rewards at certain tiers. So that's a good way to kind of getting fragments slowly. And another good thing is that the keys that you're using for it basically isn't usable, or is not going to disappear after the event either, so you can basically just slow stacking the keys and that way use them. And even free-to-play players can buy the keys through 30 maple leaves and or 3000 blue diamonds, and so you have basically an ability to get 10 keys per time the event is around. But this particular video here is going to focus on the what's it called, the new dragon skill that's been released, which you can see here, and yeah, how to basically use it in terms of getting some value out of it, because 300 fragment is a lot, and there's a lot of dragon skills that are available, and I want to give my take on how to use this particular skill in the game. So now we can take a look at the new dragon skill in more detail. Basically, the new dragon skill is basically called a Dragon Strong Assault skill, and it's basically parted into 3 benefits it has. First of all, the first benefit is troop attack plus up to 12%, which is at, I believe, level 9, then it will have 12%. Second part is assault army attack plus 12% in rallies and when sending reinforcements, can stack up to 36%. So basically, if 3 people have it maxed out, I believe, then it should basically give you the 36%. And then, of course, the most interesting part is the strong assault part. If a dragon with skills participates in battles, increases damage dealt by your commander's army active skill by 20%. Stacked effect will not exceed 50% when in a rally. This particular part might be a bit more difficult to understand. Basically, dragons have certain skills, and it's still a little bit questionable regarding if it's active skill, if the dragon has to have an active skill, or if the dragon has to basically just have skill applied. For common sense, I would assume that it would basically just, if the dragon has a skill applied, like this particular skill applied or other skills applied, then it will activate as long as this skill is one of those skills that it has applied to it. And the game has been really trying to push the entire army active skill damage, if you can say, commander skill damage, and it's something that has been like slept on, but with the entire awakening systems being added and commanders being more and more in focus in terms of countering enemies and so on, I would assume that there's some kind of way or meta where you can basically use skills or commander skills to actually turn the tide of a battle. Now you might ask, okay, how do I use this new dragon skill? And basically there's an idea that I've been working on that could potentially work, and it's related to Arya and to Layla. Both of those are awakened commanders, and you will basically need their awakened skill to actually get the maximum value out of it. As we saw before, the dragon skill basically increases the active commander skills by 20% when you have only one skill, and 50% if it's in a rally, for example. And this particular thing can be chained together with the Arya skill. Now, the Arya Awakening skill is basically that when Commander Arya Stark uses active skills to attack the enemy target lineup, one death marker will be added to the target lineup. For every one death marker on the target lineup, Arya Stark skill damage to that target increases by 20%. So basically you have from the dragon you might have a 20 to 50% skill increase, damage skill increase. And with this on top of it, you will basically have an increasing amount of damage output from Arya's active skill. If there's one death marker on, basically, then you would have potentially have a 20% increase of the maybe 20% original skill damage. But with the other dragon skill, I would assume that it gets applied first, so that the dragon skill damage goes in and increases the damage, and then 20% of that damage gets further increased by Arya's skill. And the more she uses that skill, the more death markers will be on the enemy side, and basically the higher damage increase will be coming out of it. And that's something you should not underestimate in any case. But that's also the other part, which is the Layla Awakening skill, which is basically that when your female commander uses their active skills, that skill will have a 30% chance of being used 2 times, a 10% chance of being used 3 times, and a 3% chance of being used 4 times. Of course, this means that there's a certain amount of RNG attached to it, but that doesn't mean that it's completely unusable or something that's not really viable, because basically if there's a 30% chance that it will be activated twice, you could see like in Arya's case it will basically double proc, and that means that there will already be 2 death markers on the enemy side, and that will basically already be an increase of 40% then. And with the dragons on top of that and so on, you start ramping up pretty big numbers, and if you're lucky you might get a few times 2%, maybe a single like one time you will maybe get a 3% or 4% or 3% chance to actually have it activate 4 times, and that alone is like 120% damage increase, which is quite insane and quite high. And basically that's a way that I can see that skill damage can actually chain together well with Arya. And that's not to forget that the other female commanders that you might have, maybe it's a Cersei, maybe you have Andrea, something else, their skill damage will also be like increased both by the fact that she can be like used several times with the Layla Awakening skill, but also the fact that the dragon skill might also apply to those commanders as well. And that way you can basically build an entire setup around just putting out ridiculous numbers through commander skills. And how viable it is, I'm not entirely sure about. There are still some numbers that have to be looked at, but I would for sure say that it's an interesting niche build and could for sure be usable in certain situations, and maybe even in stuff like AC it might actually be a way to really turn the tides of the battles, because the limitations to armies and the fact that in most cases the armies are somewhat evenly matched, then the army skill damage might actually be the one thing that makes a huge difference in terms of the damage output and killing enemy troops. So if you're into coin flipping and stuff, then you can always use this particular idea that I have here. We're now back into the game, and we are currently taking a look at the shop that we have opened. And during the time that the Together in Winter event is going on, there will be the Grand Celebration pack that you can buy in the shop. The good thing about this particular pack is that, first of all, if you have the Black Diamond reductions coupons, then it basically applies to this particular shop as well, or buy, if you can say like that, and will also reduce the price. So it's a way that you can actually get a few keys for a lower price. And the second good thing about this particular pack is that every single day the pack will basically reset back to the first buy and the 50 BD pack, for example. And that means that you can basically buy maybe 1 or 2 packs every day, and then the third pack might be too expensive for you, and then you can wait 1 day, and then you might be able to buy 1 or 2 packs again, and basically repeat it during the time that the Together in Winter event is going on the server. And that's one way if you want to speed up your process at getting keys, so you're not only getting 10 keys per event time, but basically wanting more keys. This is one way to, or only way to, kind of speed up the process a lot, and that's a good way to kind of like make a smaller investment over time to actually get something back. Lastly, we have a small tip on how you can basically get a lot of value out of your buys, if you can say like that, or chances of getting ancient army fragment skills or skill fragments. Basically, as you can see here, there is certain reward tiers based on how many keys you've spent, and personally I would recommend that you either go for getting the 50 tries to get at least guaranteed 30 fragment skills, or skill fragments, sorry, or you go further and maybe go for the 301 or the 151, so you basically get 30 keys for free, depending on how much patience you have. But getting the 100 free army skill fragments basically guarantees you certain skills already from that point of view, and also increases your chance of maybe getting 20 or 5 and so on. The drop rate is really depending on luck. It's not a really high drop rate on the 20 and 80 part. I've had a few times I have had 5 skill fragments coming, and I've also had a few times that I have 20, but I really haven't invested a lot into this particular event, so it's not like something that happens a lot or that I've tried a lot. But I've seen that it's not uncommon to get the 5, and you can also get 20 sometime, and then in rare cases you get 80. So it's at least like my recommendation: save up 150 or 300 keys and then just spend them there, since the keys don't vanish until you actually use them. So you can basically stock up on keys throughout the event, and every time you can basically get 10 free keys for the currency that you get for doing tasks, or just blue diamonds. You can get 5 for each. And yeah, you can see there's like a bunch of dragon skills that you can choose from, and some of the troop specific attack skills are at 100, some cost more at 400, having like certain values, reinforcement skills, so on. So take a look at them, figure out what maybe fits your style, your type of gameplay, and yeah, like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you want to. If you want to play the game, there's a link down in the description below. So is it for the Game of Thrones Discord group, and there's also for the music that I'm using. And yeah, this is going to be all for me this time around. Take care guys, have fun, and good luck with your rolls for dragon skills, and do your best in the game. Bye bye!